Have you ever felt like you're just kind of walking through the world on autopilot? I mean, you look at 1,000 things every single day, but how many of them do you truly see? That's really what we're digging into here. We're going to explore this fundamental shift in perception, how to move beyond just looking at the world to really, truly experiencing it.
So take a look at this. This is an 18th century painting called Blind Men on a Log Bridge. And it is such a powerful metaphor, isn't it? Just look at how these figures are so cautiously feeling their way forward, totally focused on just that one next step. They're so intent on not falling that they're completely oblivious to the huge, beautiful, maybe even dangerous world all around them. And in so many ways, that's pretty much how most of us navigate our own lives.
The artist and author Frederick Frank just nails it with this quote. He's basically saying we have two different ways to use our eyes. There's looking, which is all about survival, but then there's seeing. And that's an act where you become, as he says, all eyes. You're liberated from yourself and you're just fully plugged into the world. That's the journey we're about to go on.
All right, so let's really get into it. Looking versus seeing. They might sound like the same thing, but honestly, the difference between them is the difference between just surviving and actually being alive.
Okay, so looking is our brain on autopilot. It's our default setting. It's super practical. It's what our brain does to instantly identify, a car, a face, a stop sign. And it's incredibly efficient for just getting through the day. But that efficiency comes at a huge cost. It filters out all the detail, the nuance, the sheer wonder of what's literally right in front of our faces.
Seeing, on the other hand, is the total opposite. It's not efficient at all. It's immersive. It's what happens when you stop naming and categorizing and you just perceive. It's this amazing state where your ego, that little voice in your head, just gets quiet. And you can, as Frank puts it, dive into the reality that confronts you.
So, you might be asking, if seeing is so incredible, why aren't we doing it all the time? Well, the main obstacle is the very organ we use to perceive in the first place, our own brain.
You see, our brain is basically a lightning-fast labeling machine. When you glance at a tree, your brain doesn't just process the raw light and shape. No way. It instantly goes to its internal file cabinet, pulls out the folder labeled tree, and slaps that label on it. Now, this shortcut is amazing for survival, but it totally stops us from seeing this specific, unique, unrepeatable tree in all of its intricate glory.
And this slide kind of visualizes that inner tug of war. Think of it like this. You've got two different modes of processing going on. The left brain mode is like your inner analyst. It loves to label, name, and break things down. But the right brain mode is your inner artist. It sees patterns, relationships, the whole big picture. The problem is our modern world, especially our education system, trains and rewards that analytical mode almost exclusively. We learn to label first and see later, if we ever get around to it.
So how in the world do we bypass this analytical autopilot? The answer is surprisingly physical. It turns out the path to clearer vision doesn't start in your head. It starts in your body.
This quote from the philosopher Krishnamurti just gets to the absolute heart of it. Be absolutely alert and make no effort. It sounds like a total paradox, right? How can you be fully alert but not try at all? Well, the alertness is the seeing part, being completely present. But the no effort part is the key. It means letting go of all that mental strain of trying to name, analyze, or control what you're seeing. It's just about witnessing, without judging.
Think about a professional athlete in the zone. Their peak performance doesn't come from them trying harder and harder. It comes from a state of flow, of relaxed concentration. It's exactly the same with perception. When our body is relaxed, all that mental chatter, that constant labeling machine, it just starts to fade away. As Julia Cameron says, to be creative, we have to move out of the head and into a body of work. And that whole process begins by simply getting into the body itself.
In his workshops, Frederick Frank would start things off not with a pencil, but with stillness. He'd create this quiet, almost sacred space where people would just sit and watch their own breath. And this simple act of grounding your mind in your body, it does something profound. It quiets down the brain's noisy label maker. And that creates the space for a deeper, more embodied intelligence to finally come through.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? Let's get into some really practical techniques that can help us kind of hack our own perception and really start seeing the world in a new way.
So our first tool is called contour drawing. And listen, the goal here is not to make a pretty picture. The real goal is to completely bypass your analytical brain. It's all about creating this direct, unbroken line from your eyeball down your arm to the tip of your pencil, forcing you to slow way down.
And the process is simple, but trust me, it's challenging. It's a not looking drawing, because the most important rule is you are not allowed to look at the paper. At all. You fix your gaze on something, say your own hand, and you let your pencil move at the exact same slow pace as your eye. Your drawing is probably going to look pretty weird, and that's totally okay. The goal isn't the final product, it's the powerful experience of pure seeing that happens along the way. All right, our second tool involves a really radical shift in focus. Instead of drawing the object itself, you're going to draw the empty space around it. We call this the negative space. Think about the shape of the air between the rungs of a chair, or that little gap between a coffee cup and its handle.
So what happens when you do this? What happens when you stop trying to draw a chair and instead you just focus on drawing those weird, abstract shapes of emptiness all around it?
It's kind of like magic. The chair just appears on the page, and often with shocking accuracy. And here's why. Your analytical brain has a file for chair, and it's full of all these preconceived ideas, but it has no file for the weird blobby shape of air next to the chair leg. So it gets confused, it gives up, and it goes quiet. And this lets your more holistic, visual brain take over and see the pure shapes and relationships just as they really are. Now, practicing these techniques doesn't just make you a better artist. It leads to a really profound revelation about the very nature of reality and how we experience it.
And this leads to maybe the most mind-bending takeaway of all, from the philosopher Alan Watts. He argues that the world we experience isn't just passively out there. It's actually a co-creation between the universe and our senses. I mean, think about it. Without an eyeball and a brain, the sun's radiation isn't light, it's just electromagnetic waves. Without a nervous system, there's no such thing as heat, just molecular vibration. The world as we know it is a collaboration.
So at the end of the day, seeing isn't passive. It's not just data coming into your eyes. It's a dynamic dance between you and the universe. And the incredible news is that we actually have the power to change the steps of that dance. We can train ourselves to have a richer, more detailed, and way more wondrous experience of reality.
So that leaves us with one final thought. With this new awareness, if you were to walk outside right now and decide to truly see, not just look, what would you notice? What will you see today as if for the very first time?